Global outrage over killed aid volunteers. President Biden's statement. Widening protests against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, and new approaches toward climate change. Let's get into it. Number 1. Global outrage over World Central Kitchen convoy attack in Gaza. International condemnation follows an Israeli strike on World Central Kitchen convoy in Gaza, which resulted in the deaths of 7 aid workers, including nationals from the UK, United States, Canada, Australia, and Poland. The incident has sparked a global outcry demanding accountability and raising questions about Israel's engagement rules and protection measures for humanitarian missions in conflict zones. Number 2. President Biden's denouncement and demand for accountability. President Biden expressed outrage and heartbreak over the killing of humanitarian aid workers in Gaza, criticizing Israel for not doing enough to protect civilians and aid workers. In a statement, Biden said, "This is not a standalone incident. This conflict has been one of the worst in recent memory in terms of how many aid workers have been killed." He emphasized the need for a swift and transparent investigation into the incident, insisting on accountability and public release of findings to ensure such tragedies do not recur. Number 3. Domestic political repercussions of Biden's Gaza policy. President Biden's handling of the Gaza conflict, especially in light of the recent airstrike, has elicited criticism from both progressives who call for a ceasefire and suspension of U.S. aid to Israel, and from Jewish Americans supporting Israel's offensive. This delicate balance reflects the broader domestic political challenge Biden faces, navigating between advocating for humanitarian concerns and supporting Israel's security measures. Number 4. José Andrés' plea for humanitarian access. In an impassioned op-ed in the New York Times, José Andrés, founder of World Central Kitchen, reflects on the loss of his colleagues in the Gaza airstrike, underscoring the universal right to food. He criticizes the Israeli blockade and calls for immediate action to allow humanitarian aid, emphasizing that food should never be used as a weapon of war. To Israel, Andrés said of the bombing of Gaza, "It needs to stop killing civilians and aid workers today. It needs to start the long journey toward peace today." And to Netanyahu, who says that his brutal retaliation of Hamas in Gaza is a strong response, Andrés retorted that it is not a sign of weakness to feed strangers. It is a sign of strength. The people of Israel need to remember at this darkest hour what strength truly looks like. Number 5. Escalating protests against Netanyahu in Israel. Protests against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have intensified in Israel, with thousands protesting outside of his home, demanding his resignation or early elections. The protests, fueled by dissatisfaction with Netanyahu's handling of the conflict with Hamas and domestic policies, signals a deepening divide and growing public frustration with the current leadership. Number 6. NATO's consideration of a Trump-proof Ukraine fund. NATO foreign ministers discussed creating a $100 billion military fund for Ukraine to ensure continued support regardless of U.S. political changes, including a potential return of Donald Trump to the White House. The initiative aims to provide a sustainable and politically resilient mechanism for aiding Ukraine amid the conflict with Russia. Number 7. Experimental approaches to combating global warming. As global warming worsens, scientists in California conduct the first outdoor U.S. test of technology designed to brighten clouds and reflect sunlight, aiming to temporarily cool the planet. Despite potential benefits, this approach faces ethical concerns and skepticism, highlighting the complex debate over intervening in nature to address climate change. Thank you for joining today's News Roundup. And for more insights and updates, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and look over here for other roundups. And stay tuned for more updates and in-depth analysis on these and other stories and these important global events as we explore this fascinating world unfolding before us. And I will see you tomorrow.